Oh, shoot.
Yeah. We'll talk about that.
It's late. All right. Count to seven, and then you can just start talking.
Okay.
Start now? Yeah, you can go ahead and start talking now.
What's going on, y'all? We're back here live at Justicefighter Radio. It's Saturday, and we always get into very interesting topics. I think this is going to be a great segment. Got introduced on social media to a young lady who I'm just gonna let you introduce yourself. I know her name is Isis. I know that she's a feminist, and I kind of want to have this conversation. So introduce yourself, and let's hop right into this conversation.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kimberly Isis Thomas. I am the CEO and creator of I Hear That Girl, an empowerment lifestyle brand for Black women. I'm a Black feminist.
Uh-oh.
And
Yes. Make sure y'all get that right.
Yes, I am a Black feminist, and it is my mission just to empower all Black women to know the greatness in which we are by birthright.
Yeah. And so what I've learned over the last, the first womanist I ever met was Dr. Janetta Cole, and that was in 1998. And since then, I've been so impressed, by the movement. But I want you to explain what the movement is for those that don't know.
Well, for myself, I like to title myself a Black feminist as an act of resistance. A feminist is any person who believes or supports and advocates for the rights of women. However, we know that the feminist movement does not include Black women. So a Black feminist, to me, is the epitome of a feminist. Black women have always, historically, fought for the rights for every woman. And we always lead the charge. When we talk about the rights of women, we do not procure those just for ourselves. Mm-hmm. We want those rights to go across the board. However, what I have found is that a lot of other women of color benefit from the fight of Black women. However, they're not standing side by side with us. So that is why I call myself a Black feminist.
Yes, and I've seen that firsthand, in some of movement circles, and have been at some points called out because of it. Because at the beginning, I did not see the schism until it was brought to my attention, and then I started to see it clearly. Mm-hmm. So who would you say in the course of the Black feminist movement are your sheroes?
Honestly, of course, Audre Lorde, but Audre Lorde was a womanist. Mm-hmm. And today, one of the prevailing women who has not necessarily stated that she is a Black feminist mm-hmm. is Serena Williams. And I believe Serena Williams is dominating the game, not the sport, but the Black feminist movement. She is the epitome of that. She is bringing up issues that affect Black women, but she is doing it in a way that the mass majority are taking notice.
Okay, I would have, and now that you mentioned that, I see it, but I would have never thought that because, she is taking on issues directly, but she has never kind of proclaimed it.
But it's obvious. It's so obvious what she's doing, and that's why I absolutely adore her. Yeah. Because she is taking that fight to the doorstep. Regardless of what title you want to put behind it, she's going to bring that issue to the front. And it's issues that affect Black women because she's a Black woman.
True.
That again goes back to what I was saying about Black feminists. We've never necessarily said, oh, we're just going to fight for Black women. We've never just said that. It's always been about women. We want the rights of women. We want people to advocate for women. And however, Serena Williams is bringing up these issues that affect her, which also affect me. That's my sister. She is a reflection of me. So when she opens her mouth and says, you know what, forget what y'all want to say about me, what box you want to put me in when it comes to how I'm dressed, when it comes to how I look, it comes to the shape of my body. All of these issues are Black women's issues that we've been fighting for. And she has this enormous platform. So when she opens her mouth, she is speaking for us, but she's speaking for all women. But I know for a fact she's speaking for me.
Okay, well that's definitely clear. Shout out to Serena.
Yeah.
Shout out to the baby. Shout out to Quay Quay. All that, you know. So then maybe we can put another person who maybe hasn't said it, but clearly in some of her more bold statements in her album she does. What about Beyonce? Would she be in that category?
Yeah, Beyonce's there.
You sound like you. Okay, I again, I don't like to hide.
No, I love Beyonce. I do. Yeah. I do love who she's becoming, and yes. I love who she's evolving into.
Okay.
I would say that she is entering that realm, and she's definitely taking advantage of her platform and using it now to advocate for Black women specifically. However, I think Solange was leading that charge. I mean, well before Beyonce. And she even states in one of her songs that her sister told her to love herself. So Solange is the person that put the light on you and said, hey, there are things about you that you need to love, regardless of what this industry, society, and everything else says. I need you to love your Blackness first. So, you know, I mean, not to say that she wasn't taught that, because she definitely has been taught that, you can tell. But there is something about the ability to speak above what the rest of the world wants you to say, especially in places of power.
Exactly. So, you know, we've talked about a couple women. What are your thoughts? And one of my sheroes, and she's clearly been on this journey for a long time, but now is starting to get the recognition. What do you think about Tarana?
Tarana Burke?
Yes.
She is amazing. She's amazing. What I will say about the way that Tarana Burke has been received is sad.
Yes.
It's sad. But there are Tarana Burkes everywhere.
I definitely agree, and I think that as we continue to move in these social justice circles, what I do like is the boldness and the courage of the women, particularly the Black women that have been doing this work for generations, not even decades, generations. You know, when you start talking about civil rights, which is morphed into social justice, you talk about women who did not get the credit that they deserve, the Fannie Lou Hamers of the world, the John Dale Johnsons of the world. You know, so many women that were standing up, the Diane Nashes. And now that we are in this arena where particularly Black women are being very vocal that they have always been the leaders in these movements, it's changing the conversation. Don't you think so?
I think it's not necessarily changing the conversation, but the conversation being heard.
True.
These conversations have been happening amongst Black women for, like you said, generations. We have been speaking, we have been shouting, we have been yelling. However, you have the majority of society that will say, oh, they're angry Black women, so let's not pay attention to what they're saying. Or, you know, you've been seen as having an attitude or doing this and that to kind of, quote unquote, humble, which I don't like that word, but to humble us into not speaking, you know. And unfortunately, when dealing with a Black woman, you can't humble us into not speaking. That's just not going to happen. What happens is that it morphs. It changes into another form of expression, be it music, be it art, be it bringing together a group of people, creating organizations, creating movements such as the Black Lives Matter movement, on and so forth. It just morphs. We change the direction in how we express ourselves. And due to this generation that we're in right now and this technological advances and the ability to have a platform in the palm of your hand, I think now you're seeing that people recognize I can say what I want to say, and there is room for it to be heard in one way, form, or another.
Definitely. And let's talk about that moment, particularly the social justice moment, where a lot of people got galvanized. I mean, especially black folks, around Trayvon Martin, and then of course Mike Brown. And let's talk about the birth of a organization from the minds of some super dope black women, particularly Black Lives Matter, with Opal and Aliza and Patrice. So do you think that they personified what you just said about black women have been saying this in corners and have been saying it loud, and then they just kind of help bring it into the mainstream that, listen, we will be heard. We have been the organizers. We have been the ones that have been putting this together, and now we're going to do it on an international scale where we won't be silenced.
Yes, definitely. We have to hold our sisters when they've lost their children. We have to comfort and uplift them when their husbands or their sons or their loved ones are missing and gone or taken from us or locked up unjustly, so on and so forth. So after hearing these or seeing these issues or experiencing these issues decade after decade after decade, and it never stops, enough is enough. Enough is enough. And when you have enough women that come together on one accord, the voice gets louder.
It does.
We're already loud. I embrace myself being loud. Let me tell y'all that. I embrace that all day. I'm from the country and I love it. And I embrace the voice, because the voice is a gift of God. The voice is what you have. Voice is power. Voice is the ability to make room for yourself. The voice is the ability for you to grab opportunities. The voice is the ability for you to be free. The voice is the ability for you to free others. Wow. So you have to utilize your voice. And I know that a lot of times people are afraid to use their voice, especially in this society, because we're told not to. So, there's such a thing as political correctness. Wow. There's such a thing as this and that. So all of the anger of these mothers, of these women, of these sisters, because no, have I ever lost a child to police brutality? No. But when she loses a son, I have lost a part of my tribe. So I hurt too. So her cry is my cry. So when we come together and we're voicing this together, that's when you make the noise that Black Lives Matter made.
Wow. And so let's talk a little bit about you. What brought you to this work? What helped just build the passion that I can hear inside, and what are you currently doing?
Well, I was raised this way. My mom was a militant midget. That's what we called her. Wow. She was a militant midget. And that was like every day it was, let me teach you the truth of who you are as a black person. And what I recognized after elementary school, middle school, going into high school, it was just like things started to click for me. And I noticed that a lot of my friends just didn't have that same confidence in blackness as I did, and it was confusing at first, because I was like, well, you're black, so that should be what pumps you up. Because for me, that was my empowerment, was remembering who I was, what I came from, and what we are capable of doing. So my mom would tell us all of the stories, all of the history of oppression. But what she did was she turned the oppression. She would say, don't get sad about that. What I want you to see is, even with all of that, this is where we are. This is how we persevere. So you look back on that when you feel like you can't move forward, and you get empowered by that. And so I use that. I use all of that, all of the struggle. Does it frustrate me? Yes. Does it piss me off? Yes, it does. However, I take that and I know where we can go, because I know what kind of a people we are. We are a people that persevere. We are a people that no matter how much dirt you throw on top of us, we will still rise. So with that kind of knowledge, I wanted to spread that to everyone. And I created IHearThatGirl.com, which is an empowerment lifestyle site. It started out with that, because I just wanted positive perspectives of Black women to be seen. That was during the whole Real Housewives that really just popped off, and I was just like, this is some balderdash. Like, that's not the truth of my existence as a Black woman. I can count on both hands all positive women. I can't even think of someone in my circle that's negative. So for them to show me on a daily basis, or show the rest of the world, for mass media to show us something outside of that, I wanted to dispel that myth. That's not true. That's not the truth of the existence of Black women. And so I created I Hear That Girl. And then from there, it just branched off into like different workshops and events that I hold to, kind of galvanize women into believing in their voices. I have an event that I do every year called the Her Story Brunch. And this event is specifically designed for women to come and learn the power of speaking their stories. Because like I said earlier, there's so many Tarana Burks. But your story needs to be heard. You can no longer, hide your story under the rug, because what you do is you are ripping away the opportunity to free another sister. If you don't tell your story, even with the R. Kelly situation, those sisters' stories had to be heard.
Yes.
It had to be heard, because there's so many women who have experienced abuse. And we haven't said anything, especially in our community where it's like, keep what happens in the house in the house. I am a victim of sexual abuse. So yes, I spoke out, but my family was like, hey, the whole world don't need to know. Yes, they do. Because there's some other sister somewhere that is going through that same thing, and I need her to know that it's okay to tell someone. And so, there's so much power in our stories. You do not have to be a celebrity. So in my events, I don't have celebrities at my event. I don't. Because I believe that every woman's story is important. So what I do at the Her Story Brunch is you guys come and you will hear from everyday women just like yourself that will share their story in the hopes to freeing someone else that is at that event. Giving them the power to know, what, next year maybe I'll be the one that shares my story. What we're trying to do is heal our community, heal our tribe, get back to sisterhood,